For 8 years, Robert Kane drove a taxi in Chicago. Day shift, business district mostly. Airport runs, corporate pickups. The quiet professional driver who got you there on time without unnecessary conversation. He was 51 years old, solid build going soft. Brown hair completely gray now, reading glasses for the GPS. A tattoo on his right forearm he kept covered with long sleeves even in summer. His taxi, a newer hybrid sedan, cleaner than most, smelled like leather cleaner and mint. He kept everything spotless. Professional. The radio tuned to news, volume barely audible. His rating was 4.95 stars. Punctual, professional, quiet. Exactly what he wanted. Until a Wednesday afternoon in October when he picked up a fare at a downtown office building. Executive type. Expensive suit. Leather briefcase. Heading to O'Hare for an afternoon flight. The passenger slid into the back seat, gave the destination, and immediately pulled out his phone. Standard business traveler. Robert merged into traffic, heading for the Kennedy Expressway. They drove in silence. Then a construction zone. Barrels narrowing 3 lanes to 1. Cars jockeying for position. Aggressive drivers cutting in. Robert needed to navigate through efficiently, or they'd be stuck for 20 minutes. His voice came out sharp, commanding automatic. Tighten up. Left lane. Close that gap. Move. Now, now, now. Don't let him in. Good. Hold position. The passenger's phone slipped from his hand, clattered to the floor. He stared at the back of Robert's head with an expression of complete shock. His face had gone pale. Hands shaking. Pull over, the passenger said, voice barely above a whisper. Sir, we're on the expressway. I said pull over, now, please. Robert heard something in that voice. Recognition. Disbelief. He took the next exit and pulled into a parking lot. Turned around. The passenger was staring at him, eyes wide, breathing fast. Your voice, the passenger said. Those commands. Tighten up, left lane. Close that gap. Move now. I know that voice. Robert felt his stomach drop. I think you're confused. Iraq. 2005, Haditha. You were my company commander. Captain Kane. Alpha Company, 3rd Battalion, 1st Marines. You gave those exact commands during the convoy. Under fire. You got us through. The passenger's voice cracked. You saved my life. Multiple times. Robert Kane stared at the man in his back seat. The face was older, filled out, successful looking. But recognition hit like a punch. Lieutenant Morrison? Robert said quietly. Major now. Retired 2018. Marcus Morrison. MBA from Northwestern. VP at a consulting firm. Marcus laughed, but it sounded strangled. And my company commander drives a taxi in Chicago. If this story of buried leadership and a voice that can't stop giving orders already has you hooked, hit that like button and subscribe. What happens when a corporate executive recognizes his taxi driver as the Marine officer who taught him how to lead under fire will prove that some commanders never truly retire. Now, let's go back to Haditha, 2005, when Captain Kane's voice was all that stood between survival and disaster. Captain Robert Kane commanded Alpha Company, 3rd Battalion, 1st Marines. 162 Marines. His family. His mission. His responsibility Haditha in 2005 was a pressure cooker. A city along the Euphrates River. Key strategic location. Insurgents used it as a staging ground. IEDs were constant. Ambushes daily. Sniper fire from every rooftop. Alpha Company had been in Haditha for 4 months. Continuous operations, patrols, raids, combat outposts. The insurgents never stopped. Neither did the Marines. Captain Kane led from the front. Always visible. Always moving. His voice on the radio was a constant. Calm, authoritative, making decisions in seconds that kept his Marines alive. Second Lieutenant Marcus Morrison, 23 years old, was a new platoon commander, fresh from the basic school. This was his first combat deployment, first time leading Marines in actual combat. He was smart, Annapolis graduate, good test scores. But there's a massive difference between leading a training exercise and leading men who can actually die from your mistakes. Captain Kane had taken Morrison under his wing, teaching him, mentoring him, showing him what combat leadership actually looked like. Morrison, Kane had told him during a quiet moment between patrols, your Marines are going to look to you when everything goes to hell. They need to hear confidence in your voice, certainty. Even if you're terrified inside, and you will be, your voice has to be steady. That's what command sounds like. How do I develop that, sir? Practice, repetition, and understanding that your fear is irrelevant. Your Marine survival is all that matters. You put your own fear in a box. Lock it away. Lead first, feel later. On August 17, 2005, Alpha Company was conducting a resupply convoy, moving between 2 combat outposts, 6 vehicles, standard precautions. Everyone alert, Captain Kane was in the second vehicle. Morrison's platoon was in vehicles 3 and 4, standard convoy spacing, proper intervals. Intelligence had reported possible insurgent activity along Route Mobile, the main road through Haditha. But intelligence always reported possible activity. You couldn't avoid every threat. You had to move. The ambush came at the worst possible location, a narrow section of road, buildings on both sides, limited maneuver space, a classic kill zone, RPGs from multiple directions, heavy machine gun fire from windows and rooftops, an IED detonated behind the convoy blocking the rear, another IED ahead blocking the front. They were trapped. The lead vehicle took an RPG hit. The driver was killed instantly. The vehicle careened into a wall and stopped, blocking half the road. Captain Kane's voice cut through the chaos on the company net. All warriors, this is Warrior 6. Ambush left and right. Return fire. Suppress those windows. Gunners, light them up. His voice was steady. No panic, just commands. Morrison's vehicle was in the kill zone, rounds hammering the armor. His Marines were firing back, but the volume of incoming fire was overwhelming. His radio operator was hit. Shrapnel through the door, bleeding, screaming. Morrison froze. For just a second. But in combat, a second is an eternity. Captain Kane's voice came directly through his radio, cutting through the fog. Morrison, get your Marines in the fight. Return fire. Suppress that building at 2 o'clock. Do it now. The command snapped Morrison back. He started giving orders to his squad leaders. His voice shaky but functional. Captain Kane was everywhere on the net, coordinating, moving elements, calling for air support. Warrior 3, flank left through that alley. Get on those rooftops. Warrior 5, I need suppressive fire on that machine gun position. Don't let it keep firing. Corpman, wounded at Vehicle 1 and 3. Get to them. Morrison, tighten up your formation. Left lane. Close that gap. Don't let them separate your vehicles. Morrison followed the commands. His platoon responded. The training took over, but then the worst happened. An RPG hit Morrison's vehicle. The blast was tremendous. The door was blown off. 2 Marines were wounded. The vehicle was immobilized. Morrison was hit. Shrapnel in his leg and shoulder. Blood everywhere. Pain clouding his thinking, Captain Kane saw it happen. Immediately started giving commands. Warrior 2, Morrison's vehicle is hit. Get to them. Provide cover. Kane dismounted from his vehicle. Under fire, rounds snapping past. He ran to Morrison's position, found the young lieutenant sitting in the vehicle, wounded, dazed, going into shock. "Morrison, look at me. Look at me." Morrison's eyes focused on his company commander. "You're hit, but you're alive. Your Marines need you. Can you lead? I don't know, sir. It hurts. I didn't ask if it hurts. I asked if you can lead. Your Marines are taking fire. They need their platoon commander. Can you lead?" The command voice cut through the pain, through the shock. "Yes, sir. I can lead." "Good. Get on the net. Coordinate your squads. I'll get a corpsman to you, but you stay in command. Understood?" "Yes, sir." Kane moved to the next crisis. Morrison keyed his radio, voice tight with pain but clear. "All Warrior 2 elements. This is Warrior 2 actual. Continue suppressive fire. Squad leaders, report status." The firefight lasted 38 minutes, the longest of Morrison's life. Captain Kane's voice was the anchor. Constant, steady, making decisions, moving pieces, keeping the company together. When FA-18s finally arrived and dropped ordnance on the insurgent positions, the enemy broke contact and fled. Final count: 3 Marines KIA, 11 WIA including Morrison, 4 vehicles damaged, 2 destroyed. Enemy casualties estimated at 23 KIA. Significant weapons cache destroyed. After the medevac helicopters took the wounded, Captain Kane walked the line, checking every Marine, making sure they were okay. He found Morrison being treated by a corpsman, leg and shoulder bandaged, refusing evacuation until his platoon was accounted for. "All my Marines are okay, sir," Morrison reported. "2 wounded but stable. We held together. You held together. You got hit, and you kept leading. That's what officers do. Only because you ordered me to, sir. When I froze, you got me back in the fight. I gave you a command. You executed it. That's the relationship. I give orders. You follow them. Together we keep Marines alive." Morrison nodded, then grimaced in pain. "Get on that helicopter," Kane ordered. "You've done enough today." "But, sir, that's not a request, Lieutenant. That's an order." Morrison was evacuated. Spent 2 months recovering at Landstuhl and then Bethesda. He returned to Alpha Company in November, finished the deployment, earned his Combat Action Ribbon and a Bronze Star. Captain Kane continued to mentor him, teaching him the lessons that only combat could provide: how to make decisions under pressure, how to lead when you're terrified, how to keep your voice steady when everything is falling apart. Morrison deployed 2 more times with different units, made captain, then major, left the Marines in 2018 after 14 years. Smooth transition into civilian life. Business school, consulting. Success. Captain Kane did 3 more deployments. Promoted to major, then lieutenant colonel. Commanded a battalion. Was offered a teaching position at Quantico. He turned it down. Retired in 2013 after 25 years of service. Unlike Morrison, Kane's transition was a disaster. Everything fell apart. No details he wanted to remember. Just a spiral down to driving a taxi in Chicago, far from anyone who knew Lieutenant Colonel Kane, until Marcus Morrison got in his taxi. They sat in the parked taxi, engine idling, neither speaking. "What happened, sir?" Marcus finally asked. "After you retired. The Marines tried to keep you. You could have taught at Quantico, Command and Staff College, any of the service schools. You had 2 combat deployments worth of lessons to teach. I didn't want to teach. I wanted to be done. So you drive a taxi." "I drive a taxi." Marcus shook his head. Sir, do you know what you meant to us? To me. You taught me how to lead. You saved my life in that ambush. When I got hit and froze, your voice brought me back. I became the officer I am because of you. You became that officer because of you. I just gave orders. No, sir. You gave more than orders. You gave an example. You showed me what leadership looks like under fire. How to keep your head when everything is chaos. How to make decisions that keep people alive. Robert was quiet. Memories flooding back. Haditha. The ambush. Morrison's face when that RPG hit. The fear. The moment when the young lieutenant had to choose between giving in to fear or leading through it. You did good that day, Robert said quietly. After you got hit, you kept leading. That took courage. Because you ordered me to. Because your voice told me I could. Sir, I still hear that voice. In business meetings when things go wrong. When I'm making hard decisions. I hear you. Can you lead? Your team needs you. It centers me. Brings me back. That's just training. It's more than training. It's you. Your leadership. Your voice. And you're wasting it driving a taxi. Robert looked out the windshield. At the parking lot. The expressway beyond. Normal civilian life where nothing seemed to matter the way combat had mattered. I don't have Marines to lead anymore, Marcus. That mission's over, is it? Marcus pulled out his phone, showed Robert a message thread. Alpha Company Reunion Group. 68 Marines. We talk all the time. About deployments. About life. About you. Robert read the messages. Captain Kane was the best commander I ever served under. He kept us alive in Haditha. I owe him everything. I tell my kids about Captain Kane, about real leadership. I wish I could find him, thank him properly. They're looking for you, sir, Marcus said. We all are, because you matter. What you taught us matters, and you're hiding. I'm not hiding. Yes, you are. You're hiding from who you were, from what you meant to us, from the fact that you're one of the best combat leaders the Marine Corps produced. And now you're driving a taxi because what? You think your mission is over? Robert didn't answer. Because Marcus was right. He had been hiding. For 8 years. Sir, can I show you something? Marcus pulled out his wallet. Inside was a worn, laminated card. A quote. Can you lead? Your team needs you. I carry this everywhere. It's what you asked me in that vehicle after the RPG hit. It's what I ask myself when things get hard. Can I lead? And the answer is always yes. Because you showed me how. Robert felt his throat tighten. I'm not the only one, Marcus continued. Half the guys from Alpha Company have some version of your words written down. Carried with them. Because what you taught us in combat translates to everything. Business, relationships, parenting, life. I'm glad it helped you, truly. But I'm just a guy driving a taxi now. No, sir. You're a leader who's chosen to stop leading. And that's a tragedy, because there are hundreds of Marines and officers who need mentors. Who need someone to show them what real leadership looks like. Who need to hear that voice that kept us alive. Marcus handed Robert a business card. I do consulting for veteran organizations, leadership development, transition programs. We need instructors, real combat leaders who can teach what can't be learned in a classroom. Marcus, I appreciate this, but, sir, I'm going to be direct. The way you taught me. You're committing slow suicide. You're taking the best parts of yourself, your leadership, your experience, your voice, and you're burying them behind a steering wheel. That's not honoring your service. That's running from it. The words hit like physical blows. Because they were true, what would I even do? Lead, same thing you always did. We have programs for officers transitioning out. They need mentors. People who've walked that path. Someone who can be honest about what it's really like. I'm a mess, Marcus. I have nightmares. I don't sleep well. I'm not a good example. That makes you perfect. These guys don't need a polished success story. They need someone real, someone who's struggling but fighting through it. That's you, sir. Robert looked at the card, at the possibility of purpose again, at the terrifying prospect of stepping back into leadership. Can I think about it? Of course, but sir, don't take too long. We need you. I need you. And I think you need this more than you realize. Robert drove Marcus to O'Hare. They didn't talk much during the ride. Too much history. Too much weight. At departures, Marcus paid the fare with a $200 tip. You don't need to. It's not a tip, sir. It's payment for saving my life in Haditha, for teaching me how to lead, for being the officer I needed when I was a scared lieutenant who didn't know what he was doing. They shook hands. Then Marcus pulled him into a hug. Thank you, Captain Kane, for everything. Please, don't disappear again. We need you. Robert watched him walk into the terminal, disappear into the crowd. He sat in his taxi for a long time, just thinking. His phone buzzed. Text from Marcus. A photo. The Alpha Company reunion from last year. 68 Marines. All alive. All successful. All smiling. Caption. We're all here because of you, sir. Different careers. Same brotherhood. Your leadership lives on in all of us. Robert stared at the photo, at the Marines he'd led, kept alive, sent home. His radio crackled. Dispatch. Another fare, another anonymous ride, another day of hiding, or he could make a different choice. Robert turned off the taxi meter, called the dispatcher. This is Kane, Unit 23. I'm logging off. Permanent. Then he called Marcus. It's Robert Kane. I'm in. I don't know if I can do this, but I want to try. The leadership workshop at Camp Lejeune held 50 Marine officers preparing to transition out. Captains, majors, lieutenant colonels. All facing the unknown, Robert Kane stood at the front, no longer hiding behind a taxi driver's anonymity. I'm Lieutenant Colonel Robert Kane, retired. 25 years. Multiple combat deployments. 2 Bronze Stars. And when I got out in 2013, I lost my way. The room was silent, attentive. I couldn't find purpose in civilian life. Everything felt meaningless compared to leading Marines. I ended up driving a taxi for 8 years, hiding from who I'd been, from what I'd done, from the responsibility of leadership. He saw recognition in their faces, understanding. 6 months ago, one of my former platoon commanders got in my taxi, by chance, and he recognized my voice, the command voice I'd used under fire, the voice that had kept him alive in Iraq. I couldn't hide anymore. Robert told them about Marcus, about Haditha, about the realization that running from his past wasn't protecting him, it was destroying him. You're going to struggle when you transition. All of you. Because leading Marines in combat is the most meaningful thing you'll ever do. And civilian life doesn't have an equivalent. But you don't stop being a leader when you retire. You find new missions, new people who need you, new ways to serve. Your command voice, that voice you use to lead Marines, doesn't go away. It's part of who you are. You can try to bury it like I did. Or you can find new ways to use it. After the workshop, officers lined up to talk, to ask questions, to thank him. A captain said, "Sir, I've been terrified about getting out, but hearing you struggled and came through, that helps. You'll make it," Robert said. "Find your mission. Don't hide from who you are." Marcus attended, sitting in back, watching his old company commander lead again. Afterward, he approached. "You look good, sir. Centered. I feel like I found my mission again. Thank you for not letting me stay hidden. You would have done the same for me." You did do the same. In Haditha, when I froze. They walked out together. My daughter's graduating from Annapolis next month, Marcus said. Commissioning as a Marine officer, second lieutenant. I told her about you, about what real leadership looks like. She wants to meet you. Robert felt his eyes burn. I'd be honored. She'll be a good officer, because I'm teaching her what you taught me. Robert drove home that night. Different car now, different life. He had a purpose again. His phone rang. A young Marine major. Just received transition orders. Scared. Needed advice. Robert pulled over. Took the call. His voice steady, commanding, certain. You're going to be fine. Take it one step at a time. Remember, you don't stop being a leader just because you change uniforms. Can you lead? Your new team needs you. The voice that had saved lives in Haditha was saving lives in America. Different mission. Same purpose. Bring everyone home.